And gait, the meaning of the word is the manner of which you walk.
I saw that. So is that why you picked that?
It just all happened to work out
It just
because
works.
the point of my whole brand is to slow people down.
'Cause we need
Recharge your
to.
soul. Yeah.
This is What's Your Passion? I'm your host, Chad Sinkowski, and I aspire to inspire people like you through my guests. Like my guest today, Nicole Casino. She's the CEO and visionary of GAIT Resorts. Nicole, welcome.
Hello. Thank you.
How did you get started with GAIT Resorts?
I started my career in real estate. Over the past 18 years have built my career in real estate into luxury real estate. And during the pandemic, everything got shut down, and me and my friends decided to buy an RV and just go on a cross-country trip.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. And we did not know how to drive an RV, how to work an RV, where we should go. We started an online social media group and started asking people for permission on where we should go, what kind of RV we should buy, how we should drive it, like how do we hook up the tubes and the hoses and the water. Yeah. We ran out of water one time and we were hooked up to water. Just because we didn't flip a switch, you know.
But you've never done it before, but you're willing to take the jump and say, let's do it.
And film it.
And film it.
So we filmed ourselves going through this process, you know, to let other people know that they could just try it too. You don't really have to know what you're doing. You just wing it.
Right.
And then luckily through social media and online, we had lots of people that wanted to help us and tell us and give us advice.
Right.
So it was fun. Through the process of going across country, we realized that I grew up camping in a tent, and I grew up roughing it in the woods, and I was a Girl Scout and making my own fire, and that's fine. But now as an adult selling luxury real estate, I like 5-star amenities and a Ritz-Carlton. Right. And, you know, I like concierge service if I want it. And, you know, so when we went on this excursion, we were looking for luxury camping excursions and experiences. And we realized they don't exist. You go to a campground and it's just a campground. Right. And there's no room service at a campground. Obviously, people know that, but why not? Is my question. So I then developed my brand, GAIT Resorts, which is Glamping Adventures International Travel. And I'm developing high-end camping resorts with luxury accommodations, room service, concierge, 5-star excursions. We will take you on an offshore fishing trip and then bring the fish back to your tent or your RV or whatever you're staying in. And we will have a chef come and teach you how to fillet your own fish and clean your own fish and cook it right there at your campground. You will not have to start a fire unless you want to start your own fire. And if you need somebody to come and teach you how to start a fire just because you've never taken your family camping before, we'll do a whole tutorial.
And it happens, right?
Yeah.
Some people don't know how, but like you took the RV and you went, you didn't know. I think that's great because that's like the authentic part of it. There's a lot of people on social media and sometimes they're not authentic. Right? But y'all went and said, we're just doing it. And like, we really don't know how to do this.
Oh, and lots of terrible things happened.
Oh, I'm sure.
But we got through it and we made it back and, you know.
And you had a good time.
And we had the best time ever. And so with my resorts, I really want to offer that educational level where you might not know how to go throw a cast net and catch your own shrimp or even cook it or even clean it. But I want to be able to offer that as a family adventure.
Absolutely.
Where you can come and go learn how to do these outdoor adventures and then go back a better person after you leave your vacation. My guests will never say, I need a vacation from my vacation, because I want you to come and recharge your soul at our locations and connect with nature and have as much or as little catering and concierge as you want.
Right.
But just to have the options there where it's just no hassle, come and learn something and go back and live maybe a little bit different way. Slow down just a bit.
Right. And I think that's what we all need to do And, you know, some people, I think they could be turned off by the camping thing because they're like, well, I don't know how to do this and that and the next thing, so they just won't go. But you're taking care of that because you're like, if you want us to teach you some of it, we will. If you want us to teach all of it, we will, right?
Or if you just want us to light the fire and you don't want to learn it, we'll do that.
Right. But the great thing is, like any business that you start, you kind of scratch your own itch. So when you went and you found out, like, hey, there aren't these things, right? So there's a need for it. So, hey, let me create something. Because when somebody has a thought, you're not the only one that thinks it, right? There's sure thousands, if not millions of other people that are thinking the same thing. They just, hey, I don't have the time to start that, or I don't know, you know, they're just not confident enough. You are. You're like, hey, there's a need for it.
Well, I did do a little bit of online polling. So I went to these big national camping groups through social media, and I would ask questions. And one of the questions that I asked to multiple groups was, what do campgrounds not offer that you wish they would? And, we got lots, but a very common answer was room service. And there was like a laugh cry emoji.
Yeah.
Like it was a joke.
Right.
But I'm like,
hey, jokes are half truths.
Why can a campground not offer room service?
Right.
Why is that so outside of the box?
Because this is the way we've always done it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And so nobody wants to deviate from that and be an innovator or visionary.
I'm glad you brought that up, because the way that campgrounds have always done it needs to change.
Right.
Because glamping, I don't really necessarily like to associate myself with the word glamping anymore. I became a paid influencer through social media to go glamping and to stay at these glamping resorts and to post about it.
Right.
And I was having a hard time finding nice things to say. Because when you're in a tent and it's canvas and there's another tent right next to you, you don't have walls.
Right.
You can hear everything in the tent next to you. Everything.
Yeah.
So me and my friends we're sitting there, and we're doing the influencer thing. We're taking pictures. We started our campfire. We drove the RV there, so the RV was on site. And a group of girls checked in next to us at a tent. And the tent, not too far, just right kind of next to us. They're kind of crammed in there. Beautiful setting on a lake, which echoes sound.
Right.
Which nobody thought of that. So the girls checked in, and it's after dark. They drove in from out of town, got in kind of late. They unpacked their car, and then they come over to our campsite, and they say, "Can you girls help us start a fire?" And I said, "Sure." And they said, "We just called the campground, and they said, Google it." After the camping trip, I interviewed the owners of the campground, and I said, "Tell me about your guests. Who are your guests?"
Right.
And they said 80% of our guests have never been camping.
So then
why would you expect somebody who's never been camping or been exposed to camping, who that's just what they want to do? They want to go glamping because it's not camping, right?
Right.
And then you expect them to know basic camping skills.
And if you know that 80% of your people have never gone camping before,
yes,
you should know that you can't just say Google it, right?
Yes.
I mean, you wouldn't send your child out to start a fire if they've never started one before. You would want to hey, let me show you.
Without any supplies, there was a pile of wet wood next to the fire.
Well, you know how well that's going to go.
And the canvas, it was so awkward being able to hear everything in the whole campground that we ended up staying in our RV. And we were paid to stay in the tent. And so we left that trip saying, if this is glamping, we don't want to be associated with that.
Right.
We want to give people a true experience. And what really sets my brand apart after these experiences is that my tents, my luxury tents with full bathroom, heat and air, full kitchen, king size bed, luxury linens, all the accommodations that you would have in a 5-star resort.
Right.
You also have privacy. You will not be able to see another tent. You will not have anybody driving by your tent.
Really?
You have a private driveway to your tent.
Wow, that's nice.
Yes.
I mean, we like to go to a cabin in North Georgia, and we really like where we don't see anybody else. We got the privacy. It's not that we don't like people, but like you said, you don't want to take a vacation from your vacation. So when you go on vacation, it's you and the family or whoever you have with you. Yeah. Recharging.
Yes.
Right? You're connecting with nature.
Yes.
Not like with other people. You can do that when you come back.
So a lot of people ask me, well, where's the general fire pit area? Or where's the kids zone? And I'm like, go to Walt Disney Campground for that. Like, if you want to go mingle with other people and go jump in a general pool where, 100 other people are swimming in the same pool, that's not my place.
Right.
But if you want a private hot spring, maybe, underneath your tent, that's just yours, and you could be in there completely buck naked because we have outdoor showers.
Right.
You can do that and not worry about any other camper coming over. So each one of my tent locations have 1 to 5 acres of private property.
I'm already sold.
I'm excited to stay there.
And when you're working on this right now, and when do you expect it to be ready?
So I have 77 acres on the Ogeechee River in South Georgia.
Okay.
And it's white sand riverbanks with old oak trees with the Spanish moss, and the oak trees dip down into the water. And then the land kind of converges as you walk back into a majestic cypress swamp. And there is just these incredible trees that have just been there, and it's untouched land. Each tent location will be waterfront, have its own little water features. And when you check in, you'll get an ATV, and you drive your ATV back to your tent. You park your car. So you will drive your ATV back to your tent, and you will ahead of time schedule if you want catered meals or prepackaged grill kits. If you just want to throw food on a grill and it's just ready to go, we'll do that too.
Right.
We'll take you on excursions, retreats, fitness.
Wow, that's the whole adventure.
Yeah.
The whole package.
Any kind of adventure. But another thing people have said to me is, well, you're going to be in the swamp, and South Georgia has, gators and poisonous snakes.
Right.
And I say, yeah, it's an adventure. Don't die in the swamp, because you could die. I mean, just be mindful.
Right.
So, splashed across the front of my website is obviously going to be, this is an adventure. But then, I always kind of live my life like, it's not a real adventure unless you almost think you're going to die and then you don't. Right? That really feels like an adventure.
Something.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So my tents will be 9 foot in the air on a 9-foot platform.
Okay.
Up off the ground. So they're going to be treehouse tents, which gives for a little extra security of somebody who's not necessarily comfortable staying on the ground in the swamp.
Right.
So you're up there. And then underneath the tent, underneath the platform, will be screened in fans area with an outdoor kitchen and outdoor eating area.
That sounds nice.
Yeah. Luxury treehouse tents. I just get excited about it.
Oh, and you know what? You have to, right? If you don't, then it's not your passion.
Right.
Yeah, you want to see people smile and light up when they start talking about something, because that's when they really are excited and they're going to put 100% into it.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes I get a little bit too excited, but then I know, like, if somebody's like, hey, you need to calm down. No, I don't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Don't stifle me.
Right. It's kind of like, I guess, when a kid gets hype or something, you're like, hey, calm down. But it's like, but there's a reason there's that level of energy and excitement in them. And, like, you kind of want to keep a certain level of, like, a child inside you, right? Because you're fearless. And you're like, I'm just going for what I want. And it doesn't matter what anybody says, right? Because there's too many people that have, like, maybe self-doubt, or they worry about what other people are saying. You know what? It doesn't matter what they say. Yeah. Right? If they're saying something to you, that means they're paying attention to you, and they're not paying attention to themselves. Mm-hmm. So, can you maybe kind of talk about self-doubt? Has there been any time in your life that maybe you did have some self-doubt and you were able to overcome that, for people that are watching to say, you know what, she's right? Yeah.
One thing that I really try to do throughout my life is learn from others. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. 104 audiobooks to be exact in the last 4.5 years.
Great.
On building business, building a brand, mindfulness, meditation. I have been through a lot of major physical trauma. I was in a car accident. I was in a motorcycle accident and had my leg ripped off when I was 19 years old, when I first moved to Savannah with no family here, by myself. And had to learn how to walk again, was in a wheelchair, had to overcome that. So that you go through all kinds of physical doubt there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the doctor told me I'd wake up amputated and not to be fearful of that when I wake up. And I looked him dead in the eye and I said, "You're wrong. I'm going to be just fine." And I woke up and still had my leg. It was still attached by just the main nerve and some skin.
Wow.
All the ligaments were gone. The kneecap was shattered. It was completely open. And they were able to save my leg. So the self-doubt thing, everybody's going to have that. And you just have to overcome and look the universe in the eye and say, "You're wrong. I'm a badass."
Right.
I just am. And you have to own it. And I like to tell my kids, I said, "You know the difference between you and the cool kid?" And they're like, "What, Mom?" I said, "The cool kid just wakes up every day and decides, I'm the cool kid." And he just is the cool kid.
Right.
He just becomes the cool kid. I said, so if you wake up every day saying that you're not the cool kid, or that you're this or you're that, and you're talking self-doubt into your own life. So the advice that I give to people is just be very careful of the words that come out of your mouth and how powerful those are. And if you say, "I'm not this" or "I'm not that," you will definitely always not be this or not be that.
Right.
Because you're speaking that into your own existence. Yep. So I always tell my children and other entrepreneurs that I mentor, you have to speak your truth that you want to be happening. So even if it's not true, like I want my hair to be longer and a little thicker. And I wake up in the morning and I say, "Oh, I'm so thankful for my long, thick hair." You know? Right. And you manifest that into
kind
your
of
reality.
Gratitude, and you're talking it into existence, like you said, because it's like, whether you say you are or you're not, you're right. Either way, you're going to be right. Exactly. And you better pick the positive side, right? Because, I mean, it's only going to get better. Right. And it's got to be a daily thing sometimes.
Absolutely a daily thing.
Because you can't say, like, "Oh, I tried it for a day, it just didn't work."
No. I started not a religious, but I started a habit of waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm not a morning person. I hate the mornings. I used to hate the mornings. I've grown to love the mornings over the past 3 years. And since I have done that and mindfully woken up at 5 a.m. in the morning to do my 30 minutes of gratitude and my 30 minutes of goal setting and just peace and calm for the day and just meditate on just being happy and being healthy as of right now. Right. And that has completely transformed my whole world.
Right, because we give attention to our job, our family, like everything. And if you never give, you said 30 minutes, if you never give yourself even 5 minutes.
30 minutes before anybody wakes up, before the sun comes up, and that's just your time, and you will not, it sounds trivial, you would not believe what that does to transform your whole entire world. Right. I mean, within 3 weeks of waking up at 5 a.m. and consciously writing down your gratitude and your goals and planning out your day will completely transform whatever you're doing in your life.
Yeah, because if you're not doing it, then somebody or something else has a plan for you, right? If you're not directing it and saying, "This is where I want to go."
And it has a lot to do with my brand and how I came up with my brand, because I realized that people are just living unconsciously. And it transfers over to your vacations. Oh, yeah. So you live unconsciously through work, and then you want a vacation so that you can take a rest from that. So then you go on a vacation to be overstimulated and to just live unconsciously through that. Right. And then you come back and you didn't change at all. You didn't change your view of the world. You didn't change the view of your life. You didn't change any of your habits. You're just coming right back into the hamster wheel, and then people wonder why my life isn't changing. You have to actually make conscious change and wake up in the morning and say, "This is how I'm going to consciously change my life."
Not reactive. Right. Not waiting for something to happen. You're taking that step every day to say, "I am a badass. Yeah. I am doing it." Right? Yep. And then it's changing, because your mind will control you. Right? You're sometimes not in control unless you're telling your mind, "This is what I am. This is what I'm going to do." And if you don't do that, it's going to tell you, nope, you're not good enough.
Your unconscious thought is going to just start hammering you.
Right.
Your ego's going to step in.
Or the haters that are talking, your mind's going to take that and say, yep, they're right.
Yeah,
and that's what you're going to become.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
And just making bigger and better goals. People are afraid to make big goals. I love the author Grant Cardone with the 10X
yes.
because it sounds so ridiculous. And the magic part of it is that not only are the words that you speak controlling your body and yourself, it's manifesting the whole world around you.
Absolutely.
So when I speak out, for example, I've written down in my list on my to-dos to make an appointment with a specific neighborhood association that I'm developing a resort next to their neighborhood association.
Right.
So it's been on my list just to make an appointment with this neighborhood association. And for the last 3 months, I just keep writing it in. I'm like, well, one day I'll make the appointment. So I go to the property a few days ago. And I show up at the property with my four-wheeler, I unload it, and I'm going to hike the property, and I notice there's a bunch of people down at the neighborhood association boat ramp. So I walk down there, and I introduce myself, and it's the one guy says, oh, I'm so-and-so, the president of the association. We'd been emailing a few times. I said, oh, so nice to meet you. So we started talking, and then I got introduced to all the other people in the neighborhood that were down at the boat ramp. And as I'm walking away, they said, how did you know? And I said, how did I know what? And they said, how did you know that today, right now, is our, quarterly association board meeting?
Right. You didn't.
I did not know at all. Right. I don't know where they met, how often they meet. I just said, hey, I'm so-and-so about the property next door. And somehow, you put your intent down.
Right.
And you don't need to logically know how something is going to happen.
Right.
It doesn't have to make sense.
Right.
You don't have to figure out how you're going to get from A to B. That's the beauty of it. That's where the real magic lies, because the more you worry about how you're going to get from A to B, you're wasting the time on what B looks like.
Right. Because all that time that you're wasting could be emailing somebody or researching or doing all this other stuff.
On a positive.
And it's going to bring you
momentum.
there.
Right.
Patience.
Yeah.
Can you say a little bit of patience? Because people talking about recharging, you need to slow down. I think people have to understand, patience, an overnight success takes 10, 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
It really does, because you need that experience sometimes to take the jump to do what you're going to do.
Well, there's a thing, and then this is where a lot of people go wrong. They set goals. And they focus on their goals. And they focus on their goals so much that they lose sight of right now.
Right.
And that's the most important part. You set your goals and you leave them. You leave them at 5 o'clock in the morning in your magic book that you wrote them down in. And then you go out throughout your day being grateful for this very second right now. Because if you're looking at the future of, oh, when I get here, I'll be happy. Or when I do this.
I love it when people say that.
You're not being happy right now.
Right.
You have the option right now. Yeah. So, look at this beautiful day.
Right.
Why focus on, oh my gosh, I can't wait to reach this goal, and that'll be exciting. But that takes my energy away from, oh my gosh, look at this beautiful setting at my office at Savannah Real Estate Experts.
Right.
And being grateful for today and right now.
The journey.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Got to open your eyes, watch everything, focus on the present, like you're saying, because you might have a goal, and it might take a year.
It might take 10 years.
It might take 10 years.
It might happen tomorrow.
Right.
It'll happen whenever it's meant to come to you, and you just have to trust the process.
Right.
And,
you can't force it.
It's just, and if it's not meant to come, it just won't.
Yeah, because if you write it down and you're constantly looking at it and looking at, how do I get there? How do I get there? How do I get there? Like you're saying, you're wasting all that time.
You're wasting all that time.
To say, oh, how do I... Well, all this time.
And I'll tell you how you get there is you pay attention to your now, because doors are opening for you.
Oh, yeah.
You're getting phone calls. You're getting invited to certain things.
Right.
And those are your how. You just don't even know that yet. And you don't need to know that. Why do you need to know that? Just trust that you just answer the calls that you're getting. Half the game is showing up.
Oh, yeah.
I always say that.
A lot of people won't do that.
You just, half the game is showing up or returning that phone call or following up with that person. When your intuition tells you what's so-and-so doing, pick up the phone.
You know what? 99% of the people will not do that because those are too simple. They're like, that's too easy. It's got to be some grand scheme, some plan, right? But like I've seen Grant Cardone live, right? And one thing he'll say is 99% of the people will not take this information that I'm giving you for free and telling you, do this, and they won't.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's why he can give it away for free, because he knows that most of the people won't do it. And you could give somebody a roadmap and say, just do these things, and you'll be more successful. Like, nah, it's too simple. But it's not. It is simple, but it takes some hard work also and consistency to...
And an openness to just letting go. Letting go of your preconceived notions of what you think that your goals have to look like in the end, or what you think the road that you have to take to get to A to B.
Because you're looking at somebody else and what their road was, but it's not going to be the same because they're a completely other person.
Right.
And other experiences,
and
other
then
situations.
One thing that's really sad that I see a lot of people do is they just get bogged down in the everyday work. And then they'll get that phone call, maybe that's for something frivolous, and no, I can't do that right now, I'm working. And that could have been the phone call that you could have showed up to dinner, that could have been the one networking link to blast your business to the next level, and you just said, I'm busy, I'm working.
Right.
Now, on the flip side of that is you can't say yes to everything.
Right.
You have to just listen to your own inner voice. And if your inner voice is like, I just don't really want to go to that at all, then maybe just don't go to that one. But at the same time, be conscious enough to know, why am I making that decision?
Right.
Am I just because I got to finish this report? That's not a reason.
Right. Yeah,
but
you're absolutely right. To be conscious and think about why you're not choosing to take that phone call.
And sometimes you're just not supposed to take that phone call, and that's fine too. You just have to trust that your first intuition and your first initial response was probably the right one, and then we overthink, and then we change our mind, and that's when we screw things up.
Yep, you're absolutely right. You're having that self-doubt. Oh, maybe I should have did that, or maybe I shouldn't have. But yeah, and kind of going back to it was kind of touching on like the ripple effect. Like you don't know like who you're talking to or how it's going to affect somebody else. I think many people are caught up in the money part of it, and it's like it's not all about that. It's about helping. I know you do a lot of volunteer work. Sometimes that is more advantageous to you, helping somebody else is going to help you in a more positive mindset, to realize that maybe in some cases like you should be more grateful. Like if you're dealing with somebody that's disabled, you're like, hey, like, look what I have, right? And how am I as a person that's got all faculties about me not doing what I could be doing?
Right.
Right?
I mean, I wake up in the mornings and aside from the motorcycle accident, I broke my back in a car accident when I was 17. And so I struggle with back pain every single day. I have a limp. A lot of people don't notice it, but it causes pain throughout my body throughout the day. So it's just something that I have to deal with and live with every day. So my passion is equestrian therapeutic lessons and therapy. And I work with a lot of disabled children and vets. And, I wake up in the morning and I'm sore and it's painful. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to roll out of bed. I'm volunteering, to go help somebody ride a horse. But yet I get there and I'm like looking at these people that are, kids right out of a wheelchair getting on the horse. And I'm like, I have nothing to complain about.
Right.
Like, I feel bad for complaining that I woke up in the morning and wasn't thankful that I could even stand up.
Right.
Really get some perspective.
That's it. Perspective.
Yeah. And not only is volunteering something that has to be done on a charity setting, but I just had a meeting with one of my colleagues in real estate, and she's a newer agent, and she came to me and she said, I'm working with these buyers, and I've been working with them for the past 3 months. They're not ever going to buy anything. And she's like, I'm never going to get paid. They're just the tire kickers. They're retired and it's like a hobby for them.
Okay.
And she's like busting her butt, driving them around all these houses. And she's like, I'm done after this. I'm just going to have a conversation with them that if they're not serious, that I just can't waste my time. I said, oh, no. No, no, no. You will show them as many homes as they want to see. And you will show up with a smile on your face, because we don't work for commission. We work for the people.
Right.
And until they find their right house and they're ready to pull the trigger, you will show them as many houses as they want to see. And you better be happy to do it, because that's your job. That means you're actually working and getting and working. And I said, not only that is, when you work for the people and not a commission, they recognize that.
Oh, yeah, they'll know.
They know that for the past 3 to 6 months that they've been completely wasting your time. They will be your biggest referrals. You will get so many other clients out of just showing up with a smile and not getting paid a cent from those people, because they will feel bad enough, hopefully, that they will then tell all of their friends and family, you got to call this person. They're the best. They've been helping me for 6 months, and God bless it, they haven't gotten paid one time, but they still show up.
And they know that, right? But yeah, if you went a couple months and you just said, you know what, I can't do this anymore, and be like, okay, so, when it gets tough, they're going to kind of give up. Do you know Ryan Serhant? He's a realtor out of New York, one of the biggest realtors. But he had
I'm familiar with him.
For like 10 years, he had worked on this one lady that in the very beginning, and he said it took 10 years.
Yeah.
And she ended up becoming a client of his. But it's like...
I decided 6 years ago that I would specialize in a luxury gated community in the Southeast. And it was really hard breaking into that community, because they have an on-site, there's about 4,000 homes in this community, and they have a on-site real estate office that's been there since the inception of the community in the early 80s. And there's about 40 agents that work there. And so I come in as an out-of-towner, coming in to sell real estate in their neighborhood through a different brokerage. And they basically, it was almost like I was just crazy. Yeah. It was like, who do you think you are?
Right.
Why do you think you could come in here and compete with?
I'm a badass.
Yeah. I said, I'm going to be the expert of this community.
Right.
And I started creating relationships with new neighbors. And people were like, why are you wasting your time with new neighbors? They already bought a house. They just moved. They're new. I said, because I'm building my relationships. I was struggled when I first moved to this community. I didn't know, who do I call for this? Where do I go for that? How do I find this? Who helps me with that? And I want to provide those services to people that aren't even looking to buy a house yet. But you're creating those relationships. And yeah, like you said, 5-10 years down the line, you're the go-to. You're not only the go-to when they're ready to sell, but you're the go-to now.
Right. And they might not even come to you for real estate. They might be something else that they know you're knowledgeable about. And they come to you and say, hey, you know what, Nicole? I know you're knowledgeable about glamping or, luxury camping.
Well, I've become such the expert of the community. Yeah, people will call me, when's the chili cook-off?
Right.
It's like non-real estate related, but it makes me so proud because, I don't know, but I'm finding out right now, and I'll get right back to you.
And that's the important thing, because I've heard too many people try to make something
that's not my
up when
job.
They don't have the answer or that. Yep. But it's like, you know what? I don't know, but I'll find out for you.
Yep.
Right? And I think it takes more smarts to be able to say that, to say you don't know. Because a dangerous person is the one that has all the answers.
For sure.
Because they're going to try to make something up. You're going to lead somebody down the wrong path.
Yeah. That's one thing I do like about real estate, is because in real estate school, they do teach you that you're not the expert. And don't be afraid to say, because you get asked all the questions. How old do you think that roof is?
Right.
I'm not a roofer, but I'll get a roofer over here right away to tell you that. Or architectural questions or whatever,
And we know some people might already know the answer, but they want to see what you say.
You call an expert. And this is my opinion, but I'm no expert. Right. And it's okay to say that.
Right, yeah, because you may have seen enough houses to say, I can kind of have an educated guess, But yeah, let's bring the expert in. Somebody
Yeah.
that's a roofer, or, a
Right.
structural architect or something like that.
Yeah.
What do you think is the importance of following your passion?
Passion is a funny thing because you don't really always know what your passion is. And it's like when you're asked when you're in high school, like, what are you going to go to school for?
Right.
And as a kid, you're like, I don't know, and you're just kind of guessing.
Right.
And you don't know what you're passionate about. And what I've learned is that sometimes you just don't need to know. You just need to know what makes you happy, and what makes you happy. And part of what makes you happy has to be how it helps other people. And then that can be your passion. Because when you find something that makes you happy and you're happy doing it, then like the cliche goes, when you're doing something that you enjoy, you don't have to work a day in your life.
Right.
So
Yeah.
There's a trick of how do you turn that into money though?
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So it's important to find your do what you love and find out ways that you can help other people that you love. And I just strongly believe that once you're doing what you love and you're working for the people, the money will just come to you.
Right.
Opportunities will just come to you. Because if you're living a genuine life and you're just doing what you're happy doing. So my passion is sharing the equestrian experience with other people as on a therapy level. And not just equestrian, but really all animal therapy. And just bringing that to light more and sharing that with as many different kinds of people that could benefit. And I think everybody could benefit, not just disabled people.
Right.
But finding your passion, and then you just never have to worry about money.
Right.
It just comes.
And go 100%.
100%.
Right?
Yes.
Because I think I might have kind of talked about it a little bit, but some people will look at other people and say, well, look at their path, or I have to be married by this age, or I have to be owning a business by this age. And it's like, it's all relative, and it's dependent on what your experience is, what your story is, what your passion is. And your passion is completely different than somebody else's passion. But you're saying you have to follow, and maybe it'll take some time, because as maybe a high school student, you're like, I don't know what I want to go to college for. I don't even know if I want to go to college, if I want to do a trade or be an entrepreneur, what exactly it is. But sometimes it takes a little bit of
life
experiences and seeing it and getting out there and meeting people. Because we know that the more connections you make, you're going to be meeting more people that know different things.
I don't like to put the pressure on my kids, for example, of what are you going to do when you grow up? Because I don't believe that you have to figure that out yet.
Or grow up.
And I like to tell them that maybe your job hasn't even been invented yet.
You're absolutely right.
You don't have to fit yourself in a box of whatever jobs are available today in our culture today. We don't know what our lives are going to look like in 10 or 20 years.
Right.
One thing that prevents people from living their passion, let's say you know what your passion is, but then you got to hold down a 9-to-5 to pay your bills. That's the most common thing that happens. Is somebody says, "Oh, this is my passion," and "Oh yeah, it'd be great to make money doing that, but I got to make money paying my bills." And all that is fear.
Right.
And fear, I did not come up with this. It was in one of the books that I read. False events appearing real.
Yes.
There's nothing really there to be afraid of.
Right.
People think that money makes them be not fearful. If I have money, I won't be afraid. But nothing's better than losing it all and starting over from scratch, living a life of purpose.
Right.
I mean, I would rather own very minimal and live a life of purpose and happiness instead of living a 9-to-5 grind to pay for a nice house.
Right. Or, you have to say, what are you doing from 5 to midnight? And especially if you don't have kids. I mean, I have 4 kids myself, but hey, I have a vision, I have a passion, this is what I'm doing. somebody that's single, if you have a 9 to 5, or what are you doing with the rest of that time? If everybody else is going out and partying and doing all that stuff, hey, it'll take a little bit of time. It might be a year, it might be 5, it might be 10. But guess what? When you make it,
doesn't matter.
Hey,
yeah.
I did it.
Yeah.
Right? And now you can leave that 9 to 5 and you have more.
But you cannot be afraid of leaving the 9 to 5 and starting over with nothing. And that's easy for me to say. But I did go through an experience which slapped me in the face in real life, that I realized that I'm just fine. My house burnt down. I lost everything. And that's really starting over from scratch.
Oh, yeah.
Lost everything. And you just wake up in the morning and you're like, it is what it is. It's not that bad.
Right.
And then
the way
you just
I try to look at
build
it
back up.
is like, short of dying, like you can do anything to me and it won't affect me. Right?
So
you
then
can lose your house, you can lose everything, but it doesn't mean you didn't lose your life. You still have the opportunity and you can rebuild it.
Another common thing with building wealth that people make as a mistake is they want to, back to the fear factor thing, they want to have enough cash in the bank to make them feel secure.
Yep.
That cash is wasted money. Completely wasted. You should have no cash. That cash should be in different sorts of portfolio accounts that are making you money.
Right.
Very diversified. Any cash that you have in a checking account or savings account.
Or reinvesting in your company. You know? I mean, because I think comfort kills.
Yes.
Right? If somebody's like, I'm comfortable, I got money, I'm okay. But if you put yourself back to zero, hey, how do I... Each time you're kind of putting yourself back into an uncomfortable zone, whether it be public speaking. Hey, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm afraid to do it, but I'm going to do it. And once I do it, I'm getting more comfortable doing it. Okay, now I got to find something else that's uncomfortable. And that's the only way you're going to grow, right? It's like lifting weights or, building a muscle.
Yes.
It's uncomfortable. But eventually you're like, wow, this used to be hard. Now it's easy.
Yeah.
Now I got to up my game.
Yeah. There's nothing different. There's no difference between you and the next celebrity, famous person, or wealthy billionaire, other than your daily habits and your frame of mind,
right? And
just the things that you focus on and the compounding of that.
Right, because you talk about fear. Like, I believe that if you start to tell people your vision or what you want to do, you might inspire them, or they might say, you know what, I want to help this person out. But it's putting it in your mind also to think like, I'm fearless. I'm going to let you know, right? Because other people might want to keep it like, well, I don't want to really tell anybody, Nobody's going to like jump ahead of you, 99% of the time. They're not going to take your idea and run with it.
Well, and that's the thing too, is people ask me like, why am I so confident? Like I'm building a brand that's never been done before. Nobody's ever done recreational resort vacations like this.
Right.
And my response is always, I'm so confident because I've already been there.
Right.
I've already visualized it so much that I can smell it, I can taste it, I can hear it, I can feel what it feels like to be up in the tree on that platform, taking an outdoor shower. I can hear the birds. I've been there and it's so awesome.
And I can relate. I know exactly, like you have the vision and you're so passionate, so confident about it that it's almost like you see the future.
Yes.
Right?
And then you manifest your future in physical form.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Is there any last words of advice that you would have for somebody that wants to follow their passion or their dream?
I think just to really focus on what you're grateful for that you already have. And don't put too much pressure on yourself on the logistics of how to figure out how you're going to accomplish your dream. Let the universe figure that out for you.
Right.
Just write down your goals, make them big and outlandish. The bigger, the better. Visualize those goals, and then let the universe do the rest.
Awesome advice. Nicole, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
All right. That was great.